It's the SKOR North Twins Show. Baseball!
All right, SKOR North Twins Show. Hello, everyone. Declan Goff here, back with you. Mackie and Judd did an episode last week with the first kind of round and slew of interviews that have happened so far with the Twins, or people that they were planning to interview. Figured I'd hop on because we have a couple more updates on that front. Just also some other things that I have heard about and dug on that I'd like to share with you guys here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Hit the like button and subscribe button too. If the Twins indeed do hire a manager, we'll be ready to react to it. Any other breaking news that transpires with the Twins manager search, we will be ready to react to it on the SKOR North Twins Show. So hit the like button, subscribe button. We're like out almost 7,000 subs. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys. I know the Twins are very frustrating internally and externally, but I still love doing this show, and I still love providing you guys access to the Twins and insight and everything like that. So appreciate that. So here's what we know. We have known that obviously James Rowson, Derek Shelton, Ramon Vazquez had all been considered for the Twins manager search. On Ramon Vazquez, he did complete a Zoom interview last week. If he gets another interview, it'll likely be in person. Haven't heard if that's indeed taking place or that he's indeed getting an in-person interview, but his first one did take place virtually over Zoom last week, the bench coach with the Red Sox. So Vazquez's interview is taking place. If that's the case, I can't confirm this, but I'm going to assume guys like Derek Shelton and James Rowson have probably also been either virtually interviewed or have scheduled in-person interviews, but the Twins have begun with those guys at least beginning that interview process. Another name, though, as we see here if you click the thumbnail on this YouTube channel or you see the headline, Nick Punto, the former Piranha. They're also going to interview Nick Punto for the manager position. Dan Hayes and Dennis Lin of The Athletic confirmed, it was like Thursday last week, Wednesday or Thursday last week, that multiple team sources confirmed that the Twins were granted permission to interview Punto, who was with the San Diego Padres. He was a coach for the San Diego's major league staff, working with the team's infielders, among other duties. Of course, Punto played in the bigs for 14 years. I think he won a couple World Series. Did he end up winning 2 World Series? He won the one. Okay, he won the one with St. Louis in 2011. He played a role on that team. Made 15 starts, I think, for that Cardinals team in that epic World Series against the Rangers. But Punto spent the majority of his career, obviously, 7 years here with the Twins. Punto, a wizard defensively, was always good like every other season. It felt like. I know offensively, there was a challenge there at times, but he played a bunch of different positions in the infield, kind of embodied that Piranha-esque name that basically Ozzie Guillen started. But yeah, spent a long time with the Twins, played in some of those playoff games as well. But Punto then bounced around to St. Louis, of course, where, he did win the World Series that we talked about. Spent some time with the Red Sox, the Dodgers. I forget how the Twins acquired him. He was in the Eric Milton trade. Him and Carlos Silva were in the trade with the Phillies that sent Eric Milton to the Phillies, and the Twins got back Nick Punto, and then also Carlos Silva. But yeah, Punto from San Diego, still connected to the organization. I believe was at the Joe Mauer Hall of Fame ceremony in Cooperstown in 2024. I think he was hanging out when our guy Trevor Plouffe, who joins us every Tuesday, I think he was in that little crew that was there, obviously representing Joe Mauer. Punto played with Mauer for a long time. So Nick Punto, I'm not sure what the temperature is of excitement for Nick Punto. I know the Twins love to bring back their former kin and their former players, so not a surprise to see him get an interview. He did manage in Major League Baseball's Prospect Development Pipeline League in 2021, but outside of that, and he obviously now had the infield coordinating position with the Padres last year. I don't think it's been really a formal manager. but Punto has entered it. Drop a comment, by the way, if that does that excite you? Does that do nothing for you? I'll have more kind of on what the Twins are planning to trying to do here, the temperature of the room from a clubhouse perspective, from a fan perspective. But Punto is the latest guy to join Derek Shelton, James Rowson, Ramon Vasquez. The Athletic also reported Ryan Flaherty in this same report was a name internally that's been discussed. It's unclear if the Cubs, he's on the Cubs staff, had a big league career, ended like 5 years ago. Unsure if he's been granted permission. Usually organizations grant that stuff. Like, I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't, but he's also a name, I guess, internally that the Twins are targeting or interested in at least interviewing. Matthew Leach from MLB.com reported Royals third base coach Vance Wilson are among the other names who will be or have been interviewed for the vacancy at the manager position too. So Vance Wilson's there. So yeah, we know Nick Punto, Derek Shelton, Rowson, Ramon Vasquez. On the Angels front, I know a lot of fans have been kind of wondering what's going to happen there because Torrey Hunter is on that staff. Twins fans would obviously love to see Torrey maybe get a shot at an interview. Over the weekend, Rhett Bollinger, who used to cover the Twins, now covers the Angels for MLB.com, reported that Pujols remains the favorite to be the next Angels manager, but the club has several other candidates, which include Torrey Hunter and Kurt Suzuki, another former Twin, and even Rocco Baldelli. Rocco Baldelli could be in the mix there with the Angels. Rocco did speak for the first time since being fired by the Twins. He talked to Dan Hayes of The Athletic. You can go check out that interview. It does sound like, though, just to give a little snippet, that he said, it's possible I may not manage this year, but I fully expect to be active. So, yeah, I wonder what the next plan is for Rocco there. But he did touch on the exit from Minnesota. You can go check that out at The Athletic. I wonder, I've always thought maybe Tampa Bay, him going back to the Rays, could make some sense. He's from the Northeast. He's from Rhode Island, so maybe he does stay up in the East and works for maybe the Red Sox. He spent one season with the Red Sox as a player as well, so maybe like a place closer to home. But I think as in the process of selling his Twin Cities house, he's not remaining in the Twin Cities from what it sounds like. He obviously is from Rhode Island and will be leaving the Twins organization, or has left the Twins organization. Will be leaving the Twin Cities as a whole. The Giants, I believe, have hired their manager as well. So that's one less vacancy. It was reported over the weekend that they were closing in on Tennessee Vols coach from a college ranks. Is it Tony Vitello? 60, not 60, replacing Bob Melvin, who was 63 years old. Vitello's a little younger. Coached them to a College World Series victory in 2024. Obviously, Buster Posey now running the show with San Francisco. So that's interesting. That would be the first one for him. And yeah, I mean, if that's indeed the case, it would be pretty. That I know the Athletic reported it would be unprecedented leap for someone with no professional coaching experience. But yeah, that'd be really interesting for the Giants. I thought they were gonna maybe go somewhere else, but Buster Posey, I kind of know. I kind of finally trust him. I know Nick Hundley was kind of considered the early front runner. I wonder if now the Twins maybe swoop in, interview Nick Hundley for their position. But the Giants are closing in on hiring their next manager. But yeah, it's we're in a wait and see mode. Again, Vasquez had a Zoom interview. All these other guys have either been Zoom interviewed over virtually or in a person interview. Punto, being the next newest one, kind of internally, just taking some temperature of the room. There were Twins players at the end there in 2025 before Rocco was fired that were obviously frustrated. Some even who still kind of requested to be traded and to get out. So hiring this next manager is pretty dang important to keep the core players happy there. They're going to make roster moves, right? Like they're going to probably make some trades. Do they give Trevor Larnach a deal? Do they make him, who's arbitration eligible? Do they tender him a contract? Do they say no? Do they trade him? But I think keeping, those core players happy, keeping Pablo and Joe Ryan, Byron Buxton, who I know has been very loyal and has said all the right things. But I mean, Buxton was frustrated at the end of the season. So with just how things have been shaking out, and he has no trade clause, so it's not like he can just be presented with the trade, or not like he can be traded to anyone. He would have to approve it. But they have to really nail this hire. It sets up just a really weird off season too, because like Torrey Hunter moves the needle PR wise, and I think it'd be exciting, but I also don't think they should solely be hiring Torrey Hunter just because it would be good press and PR for fans. I think it's a nice step in the direction, but is Torrey Hunter capable to be a manager? They need to vet that and figure that out. And at the same time, I understand that people have a lot of questions and concerns with Derek Falvey and company running these interviews and looking for that next manager. Those are valid questions to have. But with outside of Shelton, who was a big league manager, Rowson, who has ties to the organization, Judd on his Substack, go to juddsudsubstack.com to figure out that, wants to interview Joe Maddon. Joe Maddon is another name that hasn't been linked to the Twins, but big league experience, a lot of time with Tampa Bay, helped the Cubs win a World Series. Didn't go well with the Angels. He was fired. I think that Angels team got off to a really good start. I think it was in 2022, and then they just hit the wall, and they ended up firing him midway through the season. So Joe Maddon, that could be another one. Even in our YouTube comment section here, Stefano says, I would love to see AJ Pierzynski considered. Make him eat all the bad words he said about the Twins. AJ's been awesome on commentary. I love him when he's calling games on Fox. He obviously does awesome work at Foul Territory with Scott Brown and Eric Katz, so go check that out too if you haven't. I would love to see AJ interviewed for that position. I don't think it'll happen, but definitely an interesting one. Keep dropping me some comments here on guys you'd like to see interviewed for the position. Is it David Ross, former manager of the Cubs? That could be fun. Greg says, Joe Maddon is way too old. He was a good manager, and that might be the case, Greg. I definitely could see that being a possibility, but maybe getting someone in here too that does have ties to being a former, actual experienced manager. I don't think it's completely required. We've definitely moved into a place where we're baseball teams and organizations are giving managers jobs that don't have big league managing experience. Stephen Voigt of Cleveland has had that. I mean, Aaron Boone, who's been with the Yankees forever, and we'll see what happens. I think he's probably staying put, but maybe they say, you know what, we're done here. Boone was in the ESPN telecast booth for years after retiring as someone that could step in there. So, I don't know, man. They have to nail this hire, and then they have to convince the core players and the guys they're really trying to keep happy long term that they're on the right direction. And I think that's just going to be very challenging to do. James Rowson might have some experience with some of these younger guys, and he worked with Byron Buxton, but a lot of the guys Shelton and Rowson, Shelton being the bench coach, Rowson was a hitting coach. A lot of the guys that were here when they were on the coaching staff of Rocco's are no longer here. So they just have to really nail this hire, and then we get to see what is it going to look like. Could they end up not spending a lot of money in free agency because they haven't really shown the will to do that? Do they trade other players? Do they load up on more prospects? I don't know, man. This is the first domino that has to fall. Last year, or the last time when Rocco got hired, I think it was towards the end of October. It was between World Series games. So, does this decision linger into November? I don't know. I would like to think they at least have finalists down by the end of the month, if not maybe an offer made for the next Twins manager, but certainly not a guarantee. But we'll see. Let's see what else we got. Nelson Cruz, Robert says, Sano had his best years with Cruz on the roster, and he's terrific in the clubhouse. Yeah, Nelson Cruz was a really important guy for that Twins team and the Bomba squad. I don't know what his appetite is to manage. I think he's still working for the league's office, right? Like in an ambassador role or some type of special role. That could be someone that maybe they get there. Paul here says Glenn Perkins is just sitting there. Former Twins pitcher, Minnesota native, in the broadcast booth. I don't know. Maybe he liked to join like the pitching staff. I know Plouffe threw out Justin Morneau. It sounds like Morneau maybe would have some interest in doing it, or has expressed maybe interest like behind the scenes of what would it be like to be a manager. I don't know what the appetite is, or if he's on the Twins' radar as someone that could manage the team. But that's another one that could happen. Stefano also saying, could you see Buck getting traded? I hope he stays as a building block. I would say it's unlikely that they trade Byron Buxton, but yeah, I mean, I know he said at the All-Star break that this was home, and Twins have drafted him, and they've kept him, they've believed in him, they've empowered him, but I think he was pretty upset towards the end of the last year. So getting a manager and sitting down with him to explain what's going on, because even when the deadline happened, Derek Falvey mentioned that talking to Byron Buxton was one of the first things he did after the trade, just to kind of set the tone, and he felt he owed Buxton that conversation. So yeah, if they traded Byron Buxton and like Pablo Endor, Joe Ryan, like I think this is and it might be regardless, but you're probably looking at a 65 win team. If they indeed do that, and maybe they blow it up, dudes, ladies and gentlemen. Like maybe they blow it up, maybe they just go bad, and they load up on prospects and lottery tickets. Because outside, like I don't know, short of making huge splashes this offseason, either in free agency or trades, like the Twins are probably a fringe wildcard team as currently constructed. They obviously there's 3 wildcard spots now, so if their pitching stays healthy, like I like the bones of this team, and if like Royce Lewis stays healthy and kind of bounces back to who he is, but a lot of the ifs, ands, and buts, that's kind of the nature of being a Twins fan, right? So I don't know what direction they're going to go in, and then do the poll ads or the minority investors, we still don't know anything about. Do they have a say in how Falvey and how everyone else is handling this job too? That's obviously very, very important step too. Of if Rocco got fired, is Derek Falvey next if this team fails to meet expectations? The poll ads are very loyal with who they put in place and to run things, so they're not going to make a rash decision. But if Rocco's seat has gotten taken out of him, I think Falvey's seat's probably warm. Heading into I know he's hiring this next manager, but it's probably warmish. It's probably warmer than it's ever been. Maybe that's the best way to put it. It's the warmest it's ever been, because if you're going to fire the manager and you still are having the same problems, or maybe you're not meeting the goals developmentally or anything else, then the next move would be to fire Derek Falvey. So that's kind of a roundup, I think. Is this everything I got here? On where the Twins stand with their latest manager search. Interesting, Nick Punto has again hashtag entered the chat there. I don't know if Punto's like a favorite, but obviously Twins fans know him very, very well. Tyler says here, what about Pujols? It would be kind of weird if like the Angels pivoted to Torrey Hunter and then the Twins got Albert Pujols. Pujols spent almost half his time with St. Louis. He got signed that big monster deal with the Angels, but he has like that contract with the Angels in this role of like advising and serving the team. So if he's not the manager, I think he like remains in the current role he's in, but certainly could change things. Yeah, guys, I think that's all I got here. Appreciate you guys hanging out, supporting the SKOR North Twins Show. Anything else that happens between now and the next show, we'll update you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show. My name's Declan Goff. If Mackie and Judd could jump on too for another episode this week too. And a shout out, by the way, before I hop off here, to Grandpa's Barbecue. Go to grandpa'sbarbecueshop.com for all your barbecue needs. It's got great stuff, sauces, dry rubs, plenty of great stuff. So if you're grilling year-round, make sure you're supporting our sponsors in grandpa'sbarbecueshop.com. All right, dudes, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you guys. My name's Declan Goff. This is the SKOR North Twins Show.